Part 82. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 821. In fact, Wu Yu is not from the Guiyan tribe at first glance. He has obvious characteristics of the Yanhuang tribe. The enthusiasm of the Yanhuang tribe is quite different from that of the Guiyan tribe. Moreover, the skin of the Guiyan tribe is basically redder. It is said that, the eyes are also dark red, and Wu Yu obviously doesn't look like this. Renan. However, he did not wear the Taoist armor of the 8 legions, so he must have been suspected. After all, Wu Yu didn't know that in this lava hell, there were many Guiyan tribe posing as Yanhuang tribe, killing many people. Moreover, there is a demon next to Wu Yu. Generally speaking, they have never seen demons from outside come in, so this is a demon from the lava hell. The demons here are definitely with the Ghost Flame clan. Sons. For the 8 legions, they can also gain merit by killing the demons inside. All creatures in the lava hell that are not from the 8 legions are the prey of the Yanhuang tribe. That's why they were staring at Wu Yu like this, extremely nervous, especially the hidden dragon general. He probably felt that with the power of Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao, these 2 ghost flame tribes and demons were likely to cause harm to his entire team. Huge lethality, so at this time, he was ready to use the Yanhuang fire talisman. Wu Yu didn't expect that he would be misunderstood, because he felt that he was famous enough, but looking at the looks in these people's eyes, it was obvious that they did not recognize him, which meant that they had been in this lava hell for a while and had not been out. Isolated from the outside world. It doesn't matter if you don't know each other. He said directly, everyone, don't get me wrong. I am not from the Ghost Flame clan. My name is Wu Yu. I don't know if you have heard my name these days. I am the Yuchen Yanjian dragon. I came to the lava hell with the general's permission, and the demon next to me is actually my follower. He was too lazy to have any conflicts with these people. Of course he didn't want to attack them, but he was afraid that these people would stalk him and use the Yanhuang fire talisman to find others. Unexpectedly, they had never heard Wu Yu's name, but Yu Chenyang and the others might know him, so the Qianlong general first extended his hand to tell everyone to be calm, and then still looked at Wu Yu with great vigilance and said, "Why should we believe what you say? Maybe you are pretending to be the Ghost Flame clan. In the lava hell, the only thing that can prove your identity is the Yanhuang fire talisman. Only if you take out the Yanhuang fire talisman can I believe you, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Wu Yu was depressed now. That Yu Chenyang must have wanted to do the same if he didn't give him the Yanhuang fire talisman. The people in the 8 legions all regarded him as a member of the Ghost Flame clan. However, this made no difference to him. Since this group of people had never heard of his name and didn't believe in him, Wu Yu didn't bother to deal with them. He and Nanshan Wanjiao looked at each other, and the 2 of them speeded up and left from the side. When they made moves, the group of young men and women were still very nervous. If they hadn't seen Wu Yu leaving from the side, most of them would have used the Yanhuang fire talisman. The presence of the Yanhuang clan here means that there is still the possibility of the Ghost Yan clan appearing. Let's be careful. After leaving the group of people, Wu Yu scanned the surroundings with piercing eyes. The most important thing he was wary of was the trap-like magic circle. Just as he said this, he suddenly heard a huge sound behind him. It was caused by the explosions that went off one after another. The lava river around Wu Yu rolled rapidly and exploded. This huge roar obviously came from the Yanhuang fire talisman, and not just one Yanhuang fire talisman, but at least dozens of them, began to explode at the same time. But the difference between the Yanhuang fire talisman and the dark light talisman is that in the different world, the dark light talisman mainly produces strong light to attract other people's attention. In the lava hell, light has no effect. Therefore, the Yanhuang fire talisman, what is produced is the sound of an explosion, which attracts other people's attention more than the light. The explosion of the Yanhuang fire talisman was not that far away from Wu Yu. He and Nanshan Wanjiao looked back and found that they were a little depressed. Obviously, it was the group of people they met who had triggered the Yanhuang fire talisman at the same time. Symbol. We have been walking for so long, and they only used this Yanhuang fire talisman. Are their brains rusty? Nanshan Wanjiao said depressedly. Probably not. It has nothing to do with us. The Ghost Flame clan has appeared. Wu Yu reacted instantly, and he felt that he must have met a strong man from the Ghost Flame clan, so that so many people were frightened at the same time and used the Yanhuang fire talisman caused such a huge movement. In other cases, a Yanhuang fire talisman can already attract the attention of nearby rescuers. When they realized that there might be a powerful Ghost Flame tribe appearing, Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao almost said nothing. Wu Yu directly used Somersault Cloud to wrap the two of them, and then shuttled away, using the fastest speed and returned to the place where they just met the group of people. When they came here, not long after the Yanhuang fire talisman exploded, the group of people had completely dispersed, and they were howling like ghosts and wolves. It was very miserable. They could vaguely see several people seriously injured, and even seemed to be dead. The hidden dragon general before, seems to have gone somewhere. After Wu Yu arrived, a black shadow fled in the opposite direction from where he appeared. It was obvious that the other party had discovered Wu Yu's existence and thought that Wu Yu was an elder who came to the rescue. Although it was just a glimpse, Wu Yu was certain that this was the group of Yanhuang tribe that suffered casualties, and it was obviously the Guiyan tribe. At that moment, Wu Yu suddenly saw his dark red eyes. Although they were not as conspicuous as the blood-red eyes of the sky-swallowing body, the eyes of the Ghost Flame clan had their own unique spookiness and coldness, and he could feel the huge pressure in their lives. Forbearance and resentment. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. There was nothing Wu Yu could do about the deaths and injuries of this group of people. After all, it had already happened. The arrival of him and Nanshan Wanjiao had already saved this group of people. They came here earlier than the rescuers. After Wu Yu discovered the Ghost Yan tribe, the two of them drove the Somersault Cloud and chased after him without saying a word. In the process, the group of Yanhuang tribe probably finally saw Wu Yu. Not long after Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao disappeared, an old man appeared here. Seeing this situation, the old man's face was cold and asked, "A strong man from the Ghost Flame clan has also come to such an itch. Where is your Qianlong general?" Someone cried, "Master Qianlong general is dead." The Ghost Flame clan was instantly beaten to ashes. Someone named Wu Yu chased after him. I don't know if he is the Ghost Flame clan. Wu Yu? How did he get here? Of course he is not from the Ghost Flame clan. However, since he has chased him, I will not chase him. I will send you back to Huanglong Fort first. After hearing this, these young men and women finally understood that Wu Yu they met before was not from the Ghost Flame clan. If he were from the Ghost Flame clan, they would have been wiped out long ago. At almost the same level of strength, there is probably no one in the entire Yanfu world who can escape Wu Yu's Somersault Cloud. No matter how familiar the Ghost Flame clan is with this lava hell, and how much he understands this magma ocean and river, as long as he is targeted by Wu Yu, he will not be able to escape from Wu Yu's grasp. Not long after he escaped, Wu Yu and Nanshan looked at the moon and intercepted this man one after another. The surrounding underground space is also very huge. It is difficult to arrange a magic circle here, and Wu Yu does not have to worry about falling into his trap. The Ghost Flame tribe who was desperately escaping did not expect Wu Yu and the two to be so fast. Now they were intercepted one after another. No matter whether they were going left or right, Wu Yu could still intercept him quickly, so he slowly gave up. He was not afraid of Wu Yu when he ran away, but Nanshan Wanjiao gave him a more terrifying feeling, so he stayed here now to think of ways to deal with it. The moment he stopped, Wu Yu was sizing up the Ghost Flame clan. First of all, the opponent's realm is indeed very high, reaching the 10th level of the Yuan Shen realm. No wonder he was able to cause so much damage to that team in just that moment. The Ghost Flame tribe at his level is already very rare. High-level figures usually cherish their lives and basically hide in the deepest part of the lava hell and will not appear easily. Wu Yu was pretty lucky to have met him. What made him and Nanshan Wanjiao depressed was that the Skian tribe turned out to be a woman. The other party was observing Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao. He found that Wu Yu was very fast, and Nanshan Wanjiao made her even more afraid. However, when she saw Nanshan Wanjiao's expression at this time, her eyes flashed, and she seemed to have a countermeasure. If you look closely, you can see that the skin of the Uniyan clan is indeed darker red and looks very hot. She has very long black hair that almost reaches her perky buttocks. This may be because she often moves in this lava hell. She was wearing very little clothing, only a bodice and a short skirt. In this way, a lot of naked skin was exposed and steaming. There was a fierce wildness hidden in the eyes of this Ghost Flame clan, which had been growing for many years. Struggle has a figure as strong as a cheetah, with bulging front and back, vigorous and powerful, and a top-notch face. She has a seductive aura of a foreign race, especially the degree of raising her buttocks, which is not possible for women from the Yanhuang and Baiming tribes. Comparable. So when Nanshan Wanjiao saw her, his eyes immediately straightened. He stared at the other person's body and couldn't turn his eyes away. His saliva probably flowed down. He murmured, "I thought only Shendu was here. There is Xuanhuan Township. It turns out that it is also here, and it is my favorite fierce horse. Yes, it's really good." His current wretched appearance is really a result of his extremely handsome appearance in human form. When Wu Yu looked at her, he saw something different from Nanshan Wanjiao. The impression given to him by the Ghost Flame clan was that they were very fierce, with countless dead souls under their hands. She had such profound Taoism, judging from the method of ghost cultivation. The crimes committed are obviously quite shocking, because the methods of ghost cultivation are basically very difficult to practice without being cruel. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 822. The Ghost Flame clan temporarily focused its attention on Nanshan Wanjiao, hoping to solve the problem by solving Nanshan Wanjiao. R-A-N-E-N-O-R-G. Thus, leave here smoothly. Moreover, of course she could tell that Nanshan Wanjiao was a demon. "Brother, you probably have nothing to do with the Yanhuang tribe. Why are you chasing me? My sister's name is Ye Ying. I wonder, brother, can you let me go?" the woman suddenly spoke to Nanshan Wanjiao in a coquettish voice. A look that I feel pity for. Nanshan Wanjiao couldn't stand her charming appearance, especially a very wild woman praying weakly in front of him. He coughed a few times and said seriously, "This is not okay. Although I have nothing to do with the Yanhuang tribe, this friend of mine is from the Yanhuang tribe. You killed his people. How can I let you leave casually?" Upon hearing this, the Guiyan clan member named Yang knew the relationship between the two of them. It would be easier for her to handle it if they were just friends. She probably had a plan in mind at this time. She swayed her waist like a water snake and approached Nanshan Wanjiao. Her sexy curves and blurred eyes made Nanshan Wanjiao unable to take her eyes away. Moreover, she looked like she was in charge. With a pitiful look and tears in his words, Cai said to Nanshan Wanjiao, "But, do you know how miserable our Guiyan tribe is? It's not easy for me to survive until now. We have been told since we were born that we are prey and the Yanhuang tribe are hunters. I have been on the run since I was a child. My brother is not a Yanhuang tribe and should be able to understand our pain. If you can let me live today, sister, I will definitely repay my brother." Ye Ying burst into tears. After hearing so much, Nanshan Wanjiao was very moved. He sighed several times, and then asked the other party, "If I let you go, Seriously, can I repay you in any way? As long as my sister can do it. Nanshan Wanjiao chuckled, how about giving me a baby? Wu Yu couldn't help but laugh. Nanshan Wanjiao was so shameless. But to be honest, Wu Yu knew that the Skian clan was not a kind and innocent person, and what she was saying now might not just mean she wanted to escape. After listening to what Nanshan Wanjiao said, Ye Ying did not get angry, but was very shy and explained, my brother is a demon, and I am a human. I can't give birth to a baby. Her shy look was so charming that it made Nanshan Wanjiao's eyes widen, and he said, it doesn't matter, I don't care about the result, I only care about the stimulating process. Shameless, really shameless. But your friend is still here. Yang's skin was already tender and red, but now she was shy, her face was even redder, and she was very intoxicated. The two of them hit it off so well that Wu Yu was superfluous here. Wu Yu, please leave first. I will find you later, Nanshan Wanjiao said to Wu Yu immediately. Looking at his anxious look, he seemed to want to eat Ye Ying right away. Wu Yu thought he was joking before, but now he couldn't believe his ears as to whether he was serious. Looking at the moon on Nanshan Mountain, is it really so fascinating? Doesn't he know that this woman's purpose is not just to escape? Don't worry, I know it well. When Wu Yu was confused, Nanshan Wanjiao told him secretly. Wu Yu thought about it and found that there was an old man similar to Ming Long in him, so he should not be confused. Nanshan Wanjiao should have a better way to deal with this ghost flame clan. This time, although he was not familiar enough, Wu Yu still chose to trust him. Trust is the basis of friendship. So he basically left the side of these two people without saying a word, waiting for Nanshan Wanjiao to call him back. After coming to the lava hell, Wu Yu was not in a hurry to go back, so Wu Yu was not in a hurry whether the Ghost Flame clan could finally make the sky-swallowing body stronger. He stayed where he was, waiting for any movement from Nanshan Wanjiao. He knew that Nanshan Wanjiao must be dealing with Na Yang now. Not long after leaving, the sound of fighting came from over there. Wu Yu quickly went back after hearing the sound. When he arrived at the original position, he saw that Ye Ying and Nanshan Wanjiao were already fighting together. This little bitch is very vicious. She wanted to give me a fatal blow when she was seducing me. I never expected that my illusion skills are even more powerful than hers. Let her steal the chicken but lose the rice. Instead, I took advantage. Now I'm annoyed. After Wu Yu arrived, Nanshan Wanjiao chuckled, feeling very proud. It turns out that the girl from the Giyan tribe knows a similar skill, but Nanshan Wanjiao is even more powerful in this way, so the girl from the Giyan tribe was bullied by him. The gap between the Giyan tribe women who were fighting at this time and the charming women just now was simply heaven and earth. Her body has undergone some changes. Dark red scales have grown on it. Her whole body has grown thicker and is very rough. Her originally delicate face has now become green-faced and fanged, and sharp horns have grown on her head. It is looks like a devil. Even on the body, the strong corpse smell swept everywhere. Her transformation from a beautiful woman to this was of course for a purpose. The purpose was to make her more powerful, make her zifuyuanly stronger, and her body stronger. Nanshan Wanjiao's method just now was not useless, at least it allowed the Ghost Flame clan to show her true face. If Wu Yu had sympathy for the Ghost Flame clan, he would not have come here. In a place like Lava Hell, among the ghost cultivators, the more evil they are, the more powerful they will always be. Ye Ying is so powerful that it is absolutely impossible for her to be the poor little white rabbit. Now that she has shown her true colors, she will never feel any psychological guilt when taking action. To practice Taoism, one must definitely strive to achieve enlightenment with one thought. At this time, Ye Ying was fighting Nanshan Wanjiao, and Wu Yu noticed her spiritual weapon. It is quite not easy to possess a spiritual weapon. For the Ghost Flame clan, many people who have cultivated to the Taoist realm may not be able to possess this kind of spiritual Taoist weapon. It was a jet black flag. When Yang held the flagpole with both hands and waved the flag, the cry of thousands of babies could be heard. The more she flapped, the louder the cry became and the more miserable it became. You can vaguely see faces appearing on the flag. They are all babies under 1 year old. Moreover, each face is the same as before. In a short period of time, at least hundreds of faces have appeared. Yes, there may be more to come. This spiritual Taoist artifact belongs to a ghost cultivator. This may be the Taoist artifact with the most sinister aura that Wu Yu has ever seen. Just standing next to it gave him a creepy feeling, as if there were purple-black crawling creatures everywhere around him. The walking baby has a green face and fangs, crying and biting at the same time. It crawls on people when it sees it. There are sharp claws growing out of its chubby palms. Such a soul-enhancing Taoist artifact can be said to be unconscionable. It can be seen that the most important part of it is the lives of many newborn babies. After Minglong saw it, he gritted his teeth in anger. Using the lives of babies to forge spiritual artifacts? There must be at least thousands of them. Is it so vicious, but they can't go outside? Where did they get so many babies? Of course it belongs to the Guiyan clan themselves. You think they don't have any struggle among themselves? The strength of ghost cultivators depends on fighting each other and relying on the lives of their enemies. Yu Yanhuang clan are very few here. They can become strong. Naturally, the person who forged the spiritual weapon was through fighting with each other. Although it was not her, she definitely needed to have similar qualities to be able to conquer such a spiritual weapon. Moreover, this kind of high-grade spiritual weapon was already in constant demand. Supplement to the baby's life. Therefore, the Guiyan tribe is not so innocent. The stronger the person, the more sinful they are. Some ghost cultivators who already have their own empires of cultivating immortals, such as the demonic dynasty and the Izumo kingdom, may have much better cultivation methods. However, the more dangerous the living environment is, like the Uniyan tribe, their cultivation methods are only it will be even more brutal, because if not, how can we survive? There are many things that cannot be distinguished between right and wrong. But Wu Yu knew that what he wanted to do now was to destroy such a high-grade Taoist artifact, or at least make it difficult for it to see the light of day again. Why have you been watching for so long? Do you have any objections to my infant soul evil ghost king flag? Ye Ying still had the same voice, looking at Wu Yu with a mocking smile. You, the Yanhuang tribe, think you are on the right path, have compassion for heaven and earth, and want to do justice for heaven, but you don't know that it is you who make us have to kill each other and have to survive in the darkness. If you have a choice, who doesn't want to be decent? What about cultivating immortality and becoming a Taoist? Ye Ying laughed while waving the flag of the infant soul evil ghost king to fight against Nanshan Wanjiao. This sentence did touch Wu Yu a little, and what she said did make sense. Perhaps, this may be life. Without being in their environment, one would never know what kind of survival pressure they were under, and what kind of survival choices these pressures forced them to make. When Wu Yu had some doubts about his Taoism, a sentence that he had just entered into the path of cultivation reappeared and saved him again. Cultivation is both robbery and chivalry only when one is strong. Cultivation itself is a robbery. If you want to realize the chivalry in your heart and create such a world, you must be strong enough. Before you cannot change reality, no matter who you are, you must respect the rules established by others. Do the cries of babies sound beautiful? The same is true for the cries of their parents. But the people who force me to keep refining this spiritual weapon are you, the Yanhuang tribe, aren't they? So you are the culprit. Ye Ying is very good at this kind of words. Wu Yu responded to her by summoning the skeletal flame dragon in the floating life tower, and asked the skeletal flame dragon to assist Nanshan Wanjiao in a fierce battle with Ye Ying. His true body stood aside to see if there was any chance of helping. After all, the current body of devouring heaven is relatively weak and cannot form a certain coordination with the main body. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 823. Nanshan Wanjiao can defeat the three gods Kunwu. In fact, defeating the Ghost Flame clan should not be a big problem. Huo ran, when? R-A-N-E-N. However, if you want to kill the opponent, it will be difficult. With the skeleton flame dragon at the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm, the two work together, and Wu Yu is on the side. Even if Wu Yu's body is only the 2nd level of the Yuanshen realm, he has various divine passage methods. At critical moments, it can cause a fatal blow to that Ying. Before Wu Yu could take action, Ye Ying was defeated steadily by the attacks of Nanshan Wanjiao and Skeleton Flame Dragon. Ye Ying tried to escape several times, but even if she escaped from the control range of Nanshan Wanjiao and Skeleton Flame Dragon, she would immediately escape. She will be intercepted by Wu Yu, leaving her unable to escape. My help will be here soon. There are several people who have asked about the realm. If you struggle with me, you will only lose your life. I advise you to run for your life. After being suppressed, Ye Ying said gloomily. Wu Yu smiled and said, if this was really the case, you would definitely not say it. It seems that you are afraid. With the character of this Ghost Flame clan, if she really wants help, she will never say anything and just hold on for dear life. Just be smart. You'll know when the time comes. Ye Ying smiled coldly. Her current appearance was due to the use of the evil Ghost King body, which made her very ugly. After being suppressed by Nanshan Wanjiao and the puppet, she found a chance to take a breath, shouted angrily, waved the infant soul evil Ghost King flag, and used all the energy of the purple mansion to activate its magic circle. For a moment, at least thousands of baby faces appeared on the infant soul evil Ghost King's flag, densely packed and crying. Their immature souls would be imprisoned in them. The more they cried, the more powerful the infant soul evil Ghost King's flag became. Big, there are crying sounds everywhere at this time. It is simply making people's scalp numb. At the same time, the whistling sound of the ghost can be heard when the magic circle is operating. At this time, there are countless magic circles in operation. 3,000 infant souls ghost gate array. When Ye Ying's shrill voice sounded in the lava hell, she simultaneously planted the infant soul evil Ghost King flag on the ground. At that moment, a huge and dark magic circle appeared under the feet of Wu Yu and others. When he came out, the runes on the array were all blood red, changing like poisonous snakes. During the change, 4 gloomy gates suddenly stood up in the 4 surrounding directions, southeast, northwest, and the gates were filled with darkness. The vortex of color has a swallowing power, pulling people into it. And in the next moment, 3,000 black smoke poured out from the infant soul Ghost King's flag, went around, and landed on the magic circle. When it came into contact with the magic circle, the black smoke turned into a green-faced and fanged ghost baby. Their bodies are very immature, but they have sharp fangs and purple-black claws. They look fragile and a little fat, but they walk like flying and jump up and down. They were still shadows before, but now they have condensed into entities, like real flesh and blood, and are running towards Wu Yu and the other 3. The scene is really shocking. Netherworld technique, the magic circle with the spiritual weapon was really disgusting. When Wu Yu used it to attack the magic circle, he directly used the netherworld technique, separated a ray of soul, and entered that. Entering the interior of the Shangling Dao weapon is a test for Wu Yu. The Ghost Cultivator is completely different from the ordinary Dao weapon. Ordinary Dao weapons have various powers, such as wind, fire, water, earth, thunder, and lightning, but they are not so evil. Bloody, cruel, just like a real hell. Wu Yu didn't care so much. He injected the changes of the netherworld technique into the magic circle. With his familiarity with the ghost cultivation magic circle, it was impossible to destroy the opponent's magic circle, but it was still possible to have a slight impact. Buzz. Of the 3,000 ghost babies, thousands of them climbed onto the skeleton flame dragon at this time. They were extremely powerful, tearing at the skeleton flame dragon, and pulled the skeleton flame dragon towards the 4 ghost gates. In addition, Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao were also surrounded by thousands of ghost babies. Fortunately, Wu Yu's netherworld technique was effective at this time. The entire array suddenly shook, trembled, and flickered as if it had been hit hard. The 3,000 ghost babies were also greatly affected by this. Their strength and obsessions have weakened, and some are even killing each other. That's enough. Nanshan Wanjiao also felt a little disgusted when he saw this scene. The Tianhe River is forbidden to water. In this battle, he has always been in human form. In fact, Nanshan Wanjiao was inherited by Marshal Tianpeng. When he changes his body, except that his physical body will be stronger, the other differences are not big. So most of the time, he still fights in human form. After all, human form rather handsome. At this time, he didn't know whether he was using magical power or Taoist magic. In an instant, under his control, the entire surrounding magic circle was trapped in black water. This water was born out of thin air, covering everything in an instant, as if control the field as well. Heavy, heavy, I could vaguely hear the voice of Nanshan looking at the moon. Wu Yu and the skeleton flame dragon didn't feel anything in the dark water, but Wu Yu saw those ghost babies, as if they were pressed by extremely heavy things on top of their heads. Each one fell down in the deepest place. Even at the back, it was torn into pieces by the water and disappeared into the magic circle. The magic circle itself seemed to be under extremely heavy pressure at this time. It was collapsing and shattering. In the process, Wu Yu also seeing Ye Ying, she persisted with pain, her face was painful, and she was holding the infant soul evil ghost king flag in her hand. Even the flag was trembling under the power of Nanshan Wanjiao. Wu Yu realized that the water around here should be very heavy and the pressure was huge. Except for those on the side of Nanshan Wanjiao, everyone else would collapse under the huge water pressure. This chapter is not over. Please click on the next page to continue reading. Moreover, the 3,000 infant soul ghost gate formation had already been destroyed by Wu Yu's netherworld technique and was not as complete as it was at the beginning. Now that the magic weapon collapsed, only Ye Ying was left. Nanshan Wanjiao shrank the surrounding black water and condensed it into a sphere with a diameter of only about 3 feet. The water inside was as dark as ink, and Ye Ying was trapped in this water sphere. Without much help from Wu Yu, Nanshan Wanjiao defeated his opponent. His heavy Tianhe water forbidden power is indeed huge. It was like an iron ball at the beginning and smashed the 3 gods Kunwu to pieces. Boom boom boom. In the forbidden water of Tianhe, there were continuous loud roaring sounds. It was obvious that Yang wanted to escape from it. However, Nanshan Wanjiao had been controlling the situation, and the black ball continued to shrink. Although it was water, it might be bigger than the world. Everything above is heavy, and the more compressed it is, the more terrifying it becomes. You too. You will definitely die in this lava hell. I remember you. We, the Ghost Flame Clan, remember you. You can't escape the lava hell. We will take you to the deepest part of the lava hell and let you see what the real hell looks like. That is the heaven that belongs to us ghost cultivators. When being suppressed by Nanshan Wanjiao, Ye Ying kept making a shrill scream. Finally, the sound became smaller and gradually disappeared. Nanshan Wanjiao looked at Wu Yu and said, "It's done. What did you say you were showing me before?" This time we joined hands to fight against the enemy, which added a lot of tacit understanding. Finally, he killed a ghost flame tribe, and he was also a strong one. Wu Yu said, "Just watch. Nanshan Wanjiao put away his Tianhe forbidden water, and what appeared was Ye Ying's body and the infant soul evil ghost king flag. This spiritual Taoist artifact was still too difficult to destroy. Wu Yu put away such Taoist artifacts. While saying, "Do you have any objection to sealing this spiritual Taoist artifact?" "Of course, I scared this handsome guy," Nanshan Wanjiao said, waving his folding fan. He was waiting for Wu Yu to tell him the purpose of coming to the lava hell this time. After Wu Yu packed up the spiritual tools, his Tian body appeared. Under Nanshan Wanjiao's gaze, it turned into black smoke and entangled Ye Ying's body. Not long after, Tian the body was transformed into a human form again, and Ye Ying's body had disappeared. At this time, it seemed that the complexion of the sky-swallowing body had improved a lot. In fact, he has recovered to a level equivalent to the 8th level of the soul realm. The part that Yu Chenyang dispersed has returned. As for these tiny details, Nanshan Wanjiao was not very clear about them. "This clone of yours can swallow flesh and blood and recover from injuries," he thought so. Wu Yu smiled and said, "That's about right. I can't kill people in the divine capital, so I can only come here." Nanshan Wanjiao said, "You really have more magical things than me. This clone is already powerful, and it has such a method. I admire it. With this puppet, I am no longer your opponent. Now that it's done, it's time to leave the lava hell directly." Now that he is following Wu Yu, of course he will go wherever Wu Yu goes. Wu Yu shook his head and said, "It's not over yet. How could we just see one ghost flame clan and leave immediately when we come here?" "That's right, as long as they are all beauties and don't turn ugly. It would be better if they could be more well behaved and not be like the one just now, who always tried to kill us," Nanshan Wanjiao said in reverie. It seems that he did not understand the true ability of the sky-swallowing body. However, Wu Yu was not in a hurry. Next, he knew that Nanshan Wanjiao would understand. How he would react then would be the time to test their friendship. From here on, there will probably be a lot of traps created by ghost cultivators, so be careful. "No problem. After staying in Chengdu for a long time, it's good to come out and enjoy the excitement." Wu Yu is eager to find a new ghost flame tribe. His sky-devouring body is more and more eager to become stronger. He can now reach a level equivalent to the 9th level of the soul realm. If he cooperates with Beiming Emperor, he will definitely be able to stronger. It can even be higher. He must be well prepared, because he doesn't know when the Emperor will come out of seclusion. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 824. When preparing to continue setting off, Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao heard movement from a certain direction almost at the same time. It seemed that many people were coming quickly in this direction. Rainan. They were probably attracted by the previous battle movements, so they locked onto this location. Wu Yu was stunned and said, "Could it be that what Ye Ying said is true? She has helpers, or they are from the realm of the question, and there are more than one. Otherwise, who could have found this place so quickly?" The other party arrived very quickly, and they met before Wu Yu could leave. This is also because Wu Yu is neither impatient nor impatient, because even if he encounters a strong person in the Wendao realm, he can successfully leave. However, he and Nanshan Wanjiao quickly realized that the visitor was not the Guiyan clan, but one of their own. Of course, it's not entirely our own. If you look closely, you will see that they are 7 young men and women. There are 4 men and 3 women in total. They are about 100 years old in cultivation and they still look like young people. Basically, the men are all heroic and magnificent. Women are basically considered to be alluringly beautiful, and the 3 women each have their own characteristics. Some are charming, some are lively and cute, and some are cold and noble. All 3 of them are wearing the armor of one of the 8 legions. That armor they are purple and white. Although the styles are the same, the 3 have different feelings when worn, but they are all very moving. As for the men, they are probably the descendants of palace lords, city lords, and other important figures. They have been noble and elegant since childhood. They have practiced the best Taoist magic. Their vision and behavior are not comparable to those of ordinary Yanhuang ascetics. They are not weak in strength, and all of them are hidden dragon generals. 4 of the men were at the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm, and 3 women were at the 9th level of the Yuanshen realm. It was like men protecting the women and forming a team to experience this lava hell. There are many combinations like theirs in Chengdu. After all, it is a place where geniuses gather, but it is relatively rare to encounter them here. Here, it is more like a hidden dragon general to lead a large number of people to experience. When Wu Yu saw them, they also saw Wu Yu. There was still the residual aura of the battlefield here, so they could clearly see that a big battle had just occurred here. Wu Yu remembered that he had been misunderstood before. So, do these people know his identity? When he just had this question, among the 4 men, there was a slender man with a stern face. He said coldly to Wu Yu, it is said that you chased the Ghost Flame clan. I saw that there was someone here just now. Let's fight. Where is the Ghost Flame clan? It turned out that they were also following Ye Ying from the Ghost Flame clan, so no wonder they met here by such a chance. Since they know themselves, it will be easier to deal with. Wu Yu said, who are you? You don't declare your identity and just talk to the Emperor's envoy like this. They should be the top group of hidden dragon generals in that legion. I remember that there are really not many Netherworld generals in the Netherworld Marine Corps who are at the 10th level of the Soul Realm. They laughed at Wu Yu's rhetorical question. It was obvious that they didn't take Wu Yu seriously. They laughed a bit, and one of the women said softly, you don't even know our Lei Yan Legion, but you still have the nerve to come to the lava hell. As for who we are, you don't need to know, we just ask you, where is the Ghost Flame clan? It seems that you have been defeated, I'm sorry to say it. The Lei Yan Legion seems to be one of the 8 legions, but it is not in the divine capital, but in another place. They all have a hint of thunder in their bodies, and the mixture of thunder and fire is very lethal. Wu Yu, don't talk nonsense and waste time. Tell us, what about the Ghost Flame clan? This Ghost Flame clan has made a big mistake and must be caught. You have wasted time, but you must be responsible. Another burly man said in a deep voice. When Nanshan Wanjiao saw them dragging him like this, he became unhappy and said, aren't you afraid of being punished if you dare to talk to the Emperor's envoy like this? Even your Tianlong general must be respectful when meeting the Emperor's envoy. The other party laughed again, and the second woman said first, what rights does he have? The Emperor has not come out yet. Who will give him the power? Besides, everything is still uncertain. Who knows what the end will be? Some people are too simple-minded and don't know what their situation is. They really think that Yanhuang will be your paradise. Besides, what are you talking about, you pig? Seeing the woman's proud posture, Nanshan Wanjiao smiled instead of being angry and said, you are so proud. If you get hummed by a pig like me in a while, I will see how you beg for mercy under my crotch. When it comes to bickering, Nanshan Wanjiao is really the best in the world. When the 7 of them heard this, especially the 4 men, they were so angry that they were about to take action. Of course, they had not taken action yet, and they still cursed for a while. Speaking is naturally harder to hear. It's just the 3 of you. I've taken a liking to you. When the time comes, the 3 of you will share the bed together and take turns serving me. If anyone doesn't work hard, I'll spank whoever's behind. Nanshan Wanjiao let him scold him and was very happy. He smiled heartily, obviously very satisfied with his idea. This group of people were all livid and trembling with anger. No matter what Wu Yu's status was, they were going to take action. They were not targeting Wu Yu. After all, Wu Yu still had the status of the Emperor's envoy. Therefore, they wanted to directly surround Nanshan Wanjiao. When Wu Yu saw that they were going to make trouble, he supported Wu Yu. Nanshan Wanjiao was even more daring than him. Since this was the case, he simply said, "You guys of the Giyan tribe, please stop chasing me. I have already killed them. It's okay. We go first. There is no benefit in fighting them, and there are too many of them. There are 4 in the 10th level of Yuan Shen. He and Nanshan Wanjiao don't have any advantage in the fight, so there is no need to stay here." He directly controls the somersault cloud, and with a whoosh stagger the distance so that the 7 of them catch up and fall short. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. You killed the Giyan tribe? What about her spiritual weapon? Where is it? Those evil things should be handed over by us and handed over to General Tianlong for destruction. Wu Yu, I don't care about this person around me. What nonsense you are talking about, as long as you take out the spiritual weapon. When the other party heard Wu Yu's words, they immediately changed their goals. It seems that the spiritual weapon is more important to them. Wu Yu smiled and said, "Here it is, let you hand it over in exchange for merit." Are you saying that you killed the Ghost Flame clan? What are you daydreaming about? Perhaps because their thoughts were revealed by Wu Yu, they became even more angry. Fart. You have no right to hold such an evil thing. It must be handed over to General Tianlong. This is the rule of our 8 legions, said a man on the other side. Wu Yu replied coldly, "I'm not from your 8th army, so why should I abide by your rules? Besides, if you have to hand it in, I will hand it in when I go out. It has nothing to do with you. I'll take my leave." After he finished speaking, he directly drove the somersault cloud, took Nanshan Wanjiao, and rushed deeper. He was not very fast, because the deeper he went, the trap of the Ghost Flame clan was likely to appear. If the speed was fast, he was afraid that the trap cannot be detected. Because the group of people saw him leaving, they stopped chasing him. Unexpectedly, in order to obtain the spiritual weapon, a group of people hung on behind Wu Yu, and even pursued him. These idiots are really at odds with us. We will really have to let them taste the pain in a while. Nanshan Wanjiao turned around and said with a smile. Wu Yu saw that they were still chasing him. If he didn't speed up, it wouldn't be an option if the other party kept chasing him. Although it was a bit reckless, he could only speed up instantly, wait until he got rid of them, and then slowly explore downwards. There was a river of magma in front of him. When Wu Yu plunged into it, the surroundings were instantly filled with boiling magma, and his vision was easily obscured. Hearing splashing sounds one after another, they also caught up. Wu Yu could get rid of them very quickly according to his own speed. He was also a little angry in his heart. These people were so persistent in pursuing them and they really didn't take him seriously. But at this moment, he felt like he had crashed into another place. Oops, it was probably the Ghost Flame clan's trap formation. Remember, in the depths of this lava hell, the most taboo thing is chasing, because it is easy to stray into some magic circles. Wu Yu himself was not afraid, but Nanshan Wanjiao was following him. If he wanted to take him out, the 2nd level of somersault cloud would not be possible. No time to think too much. He's already in. What is unimaginable is that the surrounding magma and all the scorching heat disappeared in an instant. Instead, there is a paradise on earth. Wu Yu found that he had arrived at a fairyland-like place. He stood on a high mountain and walked around. There were mountains and green fields for thousands of miles. Above the countless mountains and seas, there were countless fairy mists, which were like ink paintings. Same. In the mountains and forests at the foot, under the trees, there are flowers everywhere, the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant, fresh and natural. This scenery is very beautiful, but it is not too shocking. It is just that the last moment it was in a place like lava hell, and now that it suddenly appears in such a place, it is really hard to react. We are definitely not in another place. Everything in front of us is an illusion caused by the magic circle, Nanshan said with great certainty after looking at the moon for a week. As soon as he finished speaking, there were waves of exclamations coming from behind. It turned out that it was the 7 people who were chasing after them. At this time, the men and women among them looked around in amazement, especially the women. They couldn't help but scream, their faces there was also a look of fear on his face. "Don't be afraid, it's okay, we are here," the men comforted them one after another. "It's just the demonic flame clan's magic circle. It's no big deal. There are many of us, so we can break it easily." "You're right." In fact, they were not sure, so their voices were not very confident. Because they all understand that in such a real world, the person who arranges the magic circle must have a very high level. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 825. There were 9 of them, and they entered the world in the magic array during the chase. Who ran? When? R-A-N-E-N-O-R-G. Based on Wu Yu's understanding of the magic array, this is definitely not another world, but a space constructed by the magic array. It looks like a vast world, but in fact the scope of the real magic array may not be large. Everything here, the mountains and rivers, the clouds and sky, the flowers and trees, the birds, beasts, insects, and fish, are all constructed by the magic array. A tiny reptile obviously has a symbol of its body constructed in the magic array, and it operates in the entire huge and complex heaven and earth array. The heaven and earth array has attack arrays, defense arrays, and arrays with various other effects. For example, Wu Yu didn't understand what the effect of the magic array in front of him was for a while. This magic array should have enriched many details, making people realize that they seem to have come to another world, and making people think that everything around them is real. However, Wu Yu and others cracked this level at the beginning. They all knew that this was definitely the magic array of the Ghost Flame Clan, and those people in the Thunder Flame Legion also knew it. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Such a magic array is actually a bit scary, because the person who set it up is estimated that he is not only at a high level, but also has a deep understanding and mastery of the magic array. Generally, people who are obsessed with magic arrays will pay so much attention to some details, and the world in front of them, the breeze, the trees, the sea of flowers below, and the fragrance are all vivid. How can it be so? Wu Yu looked around in confusion, trying to see the mystery of this magic array clearly. The 7 people did not continue to chase Wu Yu and others for the time being, but cursed a few words, complaining that Wu Yu had caused them to come here, and then they began to think about this magic array with each other, and also tried to use talismans such as the Yanhuang Fire Talisman, but the talismans were completely confined in this magic array and could not get out. This array is like a spider web. We are trapped here, and the spider will arrive soon. By the way, this array should not be able to trap you, right? Nanshan Wanjiao asked thoughtfully. Wu Yu nodded. As long as he integrated the somersault cloud into his body and turned a somersault, he would definitely be able to jump out of the array. That's good. I'm really lucky. I met a difficult one. One of us can still survive. Nanshan Wanjiao put away his previous unruly and became serious. Wu Yu glanced at him. To be honest, even if he could escape and Nanshan Wanjiao couldn't, it would be useless. 2 people came together, and it would be boring to go back alone, Wu Yu said lightly. At this time, he used the art of communicating with the spirit again. He had used it frequently recently, and his soul was slightly burdened. But this time was very important, and he had to use it. Only the art of communicating with the spirit could allow him to understand the array more clearly, so that he could escape and crack it. After performing the art of communicating with the spirits, a wisp of his soul escaped from this virtual world and saw the true body of the magic circle. This was indeed a tight and complex magic circle. It took a long time to set up and the operation was very tight. It was definitely not something that could be cracked by the art of communicating with the spirits in a short time. For the art of communicating with the spirits to work, if the magic circle was of a high level, Wu Yu would need to have a certain idea about its operation. Otherwise, even if this wisp of soul hit it, it would be like a moth flying into a flame. He realized that this problem was very difficult. He first continued to perform the art of communicating with the spirits to search, and his body turned to the 7 people in the group. At this time, they were also looking for a way to crack it. The 4 men were mainly looking, and the 3 women hid behind them, looking around in panic. Wu Yu said to them, "I can escape from here by myself. Give me a Yanhuang fire talisman, and another one that can be delivered to your elders, or a strong person you know. Write the text and I will send it to them after I go out. As soon as possible, the opponent is expected to appear soon." Nanshan Wanjiao was very relieved. In this case, he felt that it was reasonable for Wu Yu to leave alone. However, the 7 people from the Laiyan Legion were a little depressed. One of the men said, "Can you get out by yourself? Why don't you break this magic circle and let everyone go together?" Wu Yu was depressed and said, "If I can do it, why would I waste my time talking to you? Hurry up, I have to come back after I go out." Nanshan Wanjiao paused. He found that he had thought too much. Wu Yu just wanted to go out for a while. He had to come back to take risks, and the reason was obviously because of himself. "Why do you come back after you go out?" The noble and cold woman couldn't believe it. After saying that, she looked at Nanshan Wanjiao and probably knew the reason. It turned out that Wu Yu's followers were still here. For a follower, he was willing to come back to take risks again. Such a person made it difficult for her to dislike him as much as before. However, when she thought of Nanshan Wanjiao's obscene words, she still felt sick. "Here you go." She first threw the things Wu Yu wanted. After Wu Yu got them, the other party was looking at him, probably to see if he was bragging. Somersault cloud. Wu Yu summoned the somersault cloud, merged it into his body, turned over and jumped, crossed the void, crossed the magic circle and magma at once, and when he fell, he appeared outside the magic circle. His ghost communication technique was still thinking about this magic circle. Here, he directly detonated the Yanhuang fire talisman. The other party took 2, and Wu Yu detonated them here. There were 3 communication talismans, each for a different person, and Wu Yu also sent them out directly. After that is done, the people inside can wait for the rescue of the strong. The person who set up the magic circle never imagined that among the fish that finally took the bait, there was a being like Wu Yu who could easily pass through the fishing net. This chapter is not over. Please click on the next page to continue reading. Wu Yu turned around and took a closer look. There was really no trace of the magic circle at all. It was really difficult for ordinary people to find it. It was even more difficult to break the magic circle outside the magic circle, so he broke in directly again without too much trouble. For a long time, it really appeared in front of everyone. When Lei Yanjun and others saw Wu Yu, they looked at each other. In fact, if they went out, they might not come back. "It's really interesting." Nanshan Wanjiao smiled slightly, opened the folding fan, and fanned it gently. If it weren't for the beauties on the fan who were all naked and enchanting, the scene would be a bit touching. Shameless, the faces of the 3 beauties turned red when they saw the fan, and the men next to them also cursed obscenely. Now the communication talisman and the Yanhuang fire talisman have been issued. They can't break the magic circle and have no clue. They can only wait for rescue. However, Wu Yu was still using the netherworld technique to ponder the formation. At this time, he had a formation. He discovered that this formation was not just as simple as what he saw. In other words, it was a combination of 2 formations. Together, up and down, the magic circle above and all the detailed symbols construct the entire world that Wu Yu sees now, and there is another magic circle below, with most of the blood-red manic symbols raging like a sea of fire. Sweeping everywhere, this array and the array above are connected to each other at one point. The symbol that connects with each other is the symbol that constructs the sea of flowers in the world that Wu Yu saw. In short, if this symbol is destroyed, the sea of flowers all over the mountains and plains in their field of vision will disappear. The sea of flowers has a secret. In other words, the fragrant sea of flowers under your feet is actually the second level of the magic circle. Wu Yu couldn't figure it out before. He used a magic circle to build a virtual world without any attack points. He had no idea what role the magic circle could have besides imprisoning them. It turned out that the builder had used real weapons to hide underneath. Such a level is indeed very high. Wu Yu sincerely admires it. He admires him, but no matter what, he still has to hold on until someone rescues him. The key is that he still doesn't understand what the purpose of the sea of flowers under his feet is. The moment he thought of it, Wu Yu moved instantly, and the golden eyes in his eyes exploded, forming an endless sea of fire. The sea of fire was controlled by Wu Yu and burned on the sea of flowers. Wu Yu, what are you doing? Those people thought Wu Yu was going to attack them. When they asked this question, the sea of fire fell from them to the ground without touching them at all. However, when they questioned him together with sharp voices, Wu Yu glanced at them and was shocked to find their changes. He remembered that in the beginning, their eyes were not as blood-red as they were now. They were even covered with bloodshot eyes, and their bodies were there was some irritability. When Wu Yu burned the sea of flowers, a strong fragrance burst out from the sea of fire, forming smoke and rising upwards. Seeing the smoke formed by the fragrance, Wu Yu realized that the murderous intention had been there from the beginning. This was the smell emanating from the sea of flowers. The smell of this flower is poisonous. After Wu Yu noticed it, he immediately reminded them. Before this, he had been out for a while, so he had rarely inhaled the smell. Now that he noticed it, he still felt dizzy. In the dizziness, there are a lot of negative emotions. Anyway, it is very irritable, and the irritability will bring about irritability, and madness. As it gradually escalates, it will become like this for Lei Yan Legion and the others. Wu Yu reminded him at this time and quickly removed the Golden Eye Realm. He did not expect that the Golden Eye Realm failed to burn the sea of flowers, but instead allowed the smell of the sea of flowers to completely dissipate. The smell of the mortal world can be removed by covering one's nose. I can't smell it anymore, but this is the smell of immortality, which goes straight to the physical body and the soul, and can't be blocked at all. Let's go. Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao avoided the smell of the churning sea of flowers. On the other side, the 7 people could still roughly understand what Wu Yu said, and they also retreated, but their speed was slower and a little bit awkward. Struggling, it is estimated that they have inhaled a lot of smells so far. Once they fall into mania and lose their minds, they will not resist this smell at all, and will only become more manic. When Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao retreated to the other side at that moment, Wu Yu clearly saw that the eyes of the 7 people opposite him were completely blood-red. They are like ferocious beasts. This is the true power of this magic circle. Wu Yu, I can't hold it any longer. At this time, Nanshan Wanjiao's voice was a little heavy. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 826. Nanshan Wanjiao has stayed here for a relatively long time. The power of this double magic circle is very strong. Especially after Wu Yu burned the sea of flowers, the power of the magic circle on the underground level was completely stimulated by a combination of circumstances. Wu Yu has already felt the power that makes people irritable and dizzy. The floral fragrance is deeply concentrated in the flesh and blood, and even affects the soul. The two of them were obviously better at resisting the magic circle than the other 7. After all, Wu Yu has an indestructible body, and Nanshan Wanjiao also has a similar method. It's just that this magic circle trap was definitely set up by a strong man who was extremely good at the magic circle, so at this time, even Nanshan Wanjiao was in deep struggle. The key is that it is difficult for Wu Yu to help him, because his own mental state has begun to become chaotic, and a violent and frantic mood naturally arises in his heart. He hates everyone he sees and wants to kill them. First of all, we can only let ourselves out of the control of this magic circle first. Wu Yu had 2 options. The first way is to visualize the mind ape. During the visualization, all distracting thoughts are abandoned in the mind. There is only a sea of fire, and in the golden sea of fire, there is only an unparalleled Monkey King wearing armor and boots and holding a wishful golden cudgel, looking at himself with fiery eyes. He is the Monkey King of Wu Yu, and Wu Yu himself. At this time, he can keep his mind clear of distracting thoughts. Even if there are more inner demons, more illusions, and interference from outside, it will be difficult to shake his will. However, visualizing the mind ape is not the best way. The best way is to use somersault clouds. The second method is to jump out directly. As long as you leave the magic circle, Wu Yu will be able to return to his best condition after leaving. Then he will come in and start over again. Moreover, after being prepared, he can continue to visualize his mind ape, make it difficult for the power of that magic circle to invade his body. Therefore, Wu Yu experienced going out and coming in again. I went out to adjust, and after I came back in, I felt much better and my mind was much clearer. However, the situation of the others was very bad. Nanshan Wanjiao's eyes were bloodshot at this time, but he could still bear it, so at this time, he lowered his voice and gritted his teeth and said to Wu Yu, "Can you escape as soon as possible?" He was now angry because of the power of the magic circle. Of course Wu Yu knew that this was not what he wanted to say, so he didn't care much. However, how to let Nanshan Wanjiao escape from the confinement, induction, and stimulation of this magic circle is a difficult problem. If this continues, Nanshan Wanjiao may take action against herself. However, before that, the 4 men and 3 women of the Lei Yan Legion had completely become puppets of the magic circle. Their eyes turned blood red and they were completely controlled by anger. Everyone's mood was very manic. Among them Wu Yu was their common enemy, so they quickly targeted Wu Yu directly. If it weren't for Wu Yu, we wouldn't be in this situation. It's all thanks to him. Yes, only by killing him can we relieve the hatred in our hearts. Brothers, come with me to kill Wu Yu. After killing him, we are thinking of ways to get out of here. Yes, it was all his fault. He deserves to die, one of the women said sharply. They accepted the unanimous opinion and looked at Wu Yu with scarlet eyes. When they said this, they could no longer bear it. They each directly sacrificed all the Taoist weapons and so on, and took action decisively. The 7 of them came to fight together. That scene was quite terrifying. Each of them is not weak. It would take a lot of effort to deal with them individually, let alone 7 of them together. Wu Yu was chased by them at first, but now in the world in this magic circle, he had to retreat with Nanshan Wanjiao. He used a somersault cloud to wrap up Nanshan Wanjiao, and escaped with a swish. Su Yuan, it was very difficult for the Lei Yan Legion to chase him. The problem is that Nanshan Wanjiao is also very restless this time. Wu Yu has to keep visualizing the mental ape to keep himself awake. During this process, Nanshan Wanjiao is controlled by him and gradually becomes irritable. At this time, he actually wants to start from Wu Yu broke free from the somersault cloud, and glared at Wu Yu angrily, saying, "How dare you attack us with just a few trash? See if I don't send them all to hell. If you are greedy for life and afraid of death, you first come on, don't hold me back, get out of here." The power of the magic circle below aroused all the negative emotions in their hearts and made them lose their minds. Therefore, Wu Yu not only had to avoid the pursuit of those people, but also controlled Nanshan Wanjiao's emotions. Now that you are affected by this magic circle and have lost your mind, don't be blinded by your anger. Think carefully, you are here, fighting with them, it is a fight between a crane and a clam. In the end, the Ghost Flame clan who arranged this magic circle the fisherman will benefit. Wu Yu was also worried. When Nanshan Wanjiao roared at him, he shouted with bloodshot eyes. Such a magic circle environment can indeed make people feel irritable. However, he repeatedly confirmed that he was still in the most awake state, and he kept visualizing the mental ape to prevent himself from falling into the control of the other party. The messenger talisman has been sent out, and the Yanhuang fire talisman has been activated. The rescuer should be here. With such confidence, Wu Yu persisted. The 7 people on the other side were killing each other all the way. Their eyes were ferocious, they had completely lost their minds, and now they only saw killing. If Wu Yu hadn't stopped him, Nanshan Wanjiao would have gone up to fight them desperately. Even so, Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao had many conflicts. It could be seen that Nanshan Wanjiao was also restraining himself. Otherwise, he would probably ignore Wu Yu's stop, knock Wu Yu away, or even attack Wu Yu directly. This is very troublesome. Wu Yu felt that he couldn't hold on much longer, mainly because Nanshan Wanjiao's state was too difficult to control, and the other party's state would also affect him, making him gradually enter an irritable state. Once he loses his mind or loses control of Nanshan Wanjiao will be in danger first because he will be surrounded and killed by 7 people, but Wu Yu can get out before he is in danger anyway. Liang Shen, Wan'er is the woman I like. Why do you keep talking to her secretly? Do you want to compete with me? Just when Wu Yu was still having a headache, an accident happened. Among the 7 men, 2 of the men were the first to fight. This shows that their chaos has fallen into a higher state. At this time, they can no longer distinguish between ourselves and the enemy. Usually, the small frictions accumulated in the heart will turn into fatal conflicts here. You, when did Wan'er ever like you? You want to compete with me even though you want to compete with me. Let me tell you, Wan'er will agree to be my Taoist companion one day. I don't know whether to live or die. See if I don't kill you. I will make your whole family die without a burial place. The 2 of them started to fight over a woman, and that woman was the lively and lovely one among the 3 women. When they began to fall into their own melee, the other 5 people were not idle either. In fact, the relationship between them was in chaos. When the 2 of them fell into a life and death battle for Wan'er, Wan'er was full of joy. With a look of disgust on her face, she looked at the other man, leaned towards him, held his arm, and said proudly, I don't like you, I like Brother Qi, and Brother Qi is younger than you. Compared with him, you are nothing. Rubbish. Brother Qi is mine, you bitch, how dare you rob me, but another woman refused. She screamed, waved her Taoist weapon, and came directly to fight with Wan'er. At this time, 2 women were fighting for 1 man, and the other 3 men were also very angry. Why could he win the hearts of 2 people? At this moment, the 7 people suddenly fell into a love-hate entanglement. They got together because there was someone they liked in this group. But they never expected that the people they liked basically liked others. 1. There were almost no right people who could like each other. Such a situation resulted in each of them having a target of hatred, and the 7 of them were fighting together. For a moment, it can only be said to be extremely exciting, which dazzled Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao. For the time being, they were out of danger. However, these people showed no mercy at all. If this continues, there may be casualties. Wu Yu had no choice but to watch the show with gloating, because their violent melee also stimulated Nanshan Wanjiao. He saw Nanshan Wanjiao let out an earth-shattering roar, ran out from Wu Yu's side, and charged in the direction of their melee. And go. All women are mine. You four beasts, no one can compete with me. I will destroy you four today. His target is the four men from the Lei Yan Corps. Nanshan Wanjiao is really awesome. At this time, he still can't forget his beauty. Wu Yu could still remain calm if he was left alone. He also had to join the battle, because in this melee, although there were not 7 people targeting Nanshan Wanjiao, as the object of common hatred by 7 people, Nanshan Wanjiao would still be under higher pressure, and he would be attacked by 1 or 2 people every time. The above siege attack. Wu Yu summoned the skeleton flame dragon from the floating life tower, together with the sky-swallowing body. He did not join the battle, but stayed outside to help Nanshan Wanjiao resolve some attacks, and then waited for the rescuer to arrive. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 827. Wu Yu's sky-swallowing body has just become stronger. When combined with his main body, it can barely block the 10th level impact of 1 Yuan Shen realm. With the addition of the skeleton flame dragon, it can almost block the 10th level impact of 2 Yuan Shen realms. Impact. Nanshan Wanjiao's fighting targets were basically men. He would not attack women. Sometimes, he would ignore the other women when they attacked him. At this time, Wu Yu could only block them for him. Most of the time, although the scene was chaotic, as Wu Yu was awake and blocking attacks for Nanshan Wanjiao, it wasn't a big problem. You must have fallen in love with this pig, right? Minglong asked angrily. You, even if I fall in love with you, I won't fall in love with him, Wu Yu said depressedly. To be honest, he didn't expect that he would have to play the role of a nanny for this pig. Thinking about it carefully, this could be regarded as fate. Wu Yu felt so familiar with the inherited Tianpeng marshal who allowed him to get it, as if the Monkey King wanted him to help this pig. TCH, this girl doesn't like you, Ming Tong said arrogantly. While Wu Yu was protecting Nanshan Wanjiao from being killed by a few of them, he occasionally saw the 7 of them fighting each other and almost dying. He also took a little action to avoid death. After all, if someone dies because he is involved, he will be in trouble. He is now in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, and the Lei Yan Legion can barely be considered one of his own. In this magic circle, their real enemy will always be the Ghost Flame clan. Why hasn't the rescue arrived yet? The Yanhuang fire talisman has been detonated, and the communication talisman has been sent out. It has taken so long, and it should have arrived. Is there no way to crack this magic circle? While Wu Yu was worrying about the lives and deaths of these 7 or 8 people, he was also thinking about things outside. He is now visualizing the mental ape and has gradually adapted to the power of this magic circle. He has a natural advantage in controlling emotions. Because his way is inherently violent, but all his violence comes from his own heart, not from outside. He knows this kind of crazy emotion better than anyone else. No matter what, although these people are all injured, at least no one died. Wu Yu's sky-swallowing body and skeleton flame dragon, plus the main body, were interspersed in the melee, mainly to protect Nanshan Wanjiao. By the way, I took care of the people of Lei Yan Legion who were in extremely dangerous situation. Time passed like this. Suddenly, Wu Yu smelled a sense of danger. He realized that something might have happened that he had organized, making the creator of this magic circle realize that he had not allowed him to use the magic circle to control it. Therefore, he must bring about changes, or new murderous intentions, or even appear in this circle in person. As expected by Wu Yu, the moment he realized the danger, a burst of black energy suddenly condensed in the void in front of the melee. The black energy gathered into one person, and this person was the leader of the formation. Creator, if Wu Yu and the others were trapped in a spider web, then this person would be a spider on the spider web, waiting for food to bite. Wu Yu's piercing eyes were able to see this person clearly at once. Unexpectedly, this person was very short, probably only the height of a 10-year-old child. He was short and fat, with a thick and short neck, and a huge heart on his head. The head is fat, big-eared, with wide lips and round eyes. It looks like a big-headed baby. However, from the folds of its skin and half of the gray hair on the top of its head, it can be seen that this person is definitely not young. Has been practicing Taoism for at least 300 years, and belongs to the type of old-timers like Wu Yu and others. For someone who has cultivated to this age and can arrange such a formation, there is no doubt that his realm is in the realm of 3 disasters. Unexpectedly, until this person appeared, no one from the Yanhuang ancient kingdom came out to help, and the person who appeared in front of him now was undoubtedly quite dangerous. After seeing him, and looking into his huge round eyes, to be honest, it really has a creepy feeling. Wu Yu is not afraid, mainly because Nanshan Wanjiao cannot escape from here, so he must also fall into it. Wu Yu was very anxious now, but he had no choice, so he could only think of ways to delay time. "Who is your excellency? You can actually arrange such a superb magic circle. You must be a famous figure among the Ghost Flame clan. People like you should enjoy peace in the deepest part of the lava hell. Why do you come to this kind of place? Is the location risky?" The short, fat, big-headed old man stared at Wu Yu, grinned, and said, "I don't want to change my name when I'm walking, and I don't want to change my surname when I'm sitting down. I'm a guest of the Ghost Formation. You little ghost head, I definitely don't know you, but your elders, I've definitely heard of my famous name. Ghost guest?" This is obviously not his own name, but the nickname he gave himself. Dare to take such a nickname, obviously because he has considerable confidence in himself and his research on the magic circle. Being able to withstand my magic circle without being affected means that you must have some special qualities, which is not easy. Moreover, I also found that you can escape from my magic circle, which is indeed amazing, but unfortunately your friend seems you can't escape, so you can only stay here. Having said this, he set his sights on Nanshan Wanjiao. Maybe he knew that Wu Yu was very fast even in the magic circle world he controlled, and he might not be able to catch Wu Yu. After all, the biggest effect of his current magic circle is to cause the people trapped in it to become frantic, chaotic, and irritable, and lose themselves. Instead, it is to enhance his control and control the world, which is of no use to his capture. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu looked at him very warily. He knew that there was definitely a conspiracy behind this person's appearance. "Guizhenk, I advise you to let us go as soon as possible. After all, the few here are people with high status in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. If something happens, you will not be able to escape." "Really? Then I want to try it." When he said this, his short and fat palm touched something on his body. In fact, there was something shocking on his body. It was a pitch-black stripe. The chains were wrapped around his body several times. Wu Yu didn't look carefully at first, but now he looked carefully and found that the chains were actually made up of a human-shaped skull connected in series. However, this skull was very small, probably only the size of a thumb. This bracelet probably has hundreds of skulls on it. Although it was only the size of a thumb, Wu Yu was certain that it was a human skull, but it was now smaller. Moreover, these skulls have been transformed into a kind of Taoist weapon, and it is obviously a spiritual Taoist weapon level. It looks very ancient. Although it should not be a spiritual Taoist tool created by this ghost array guest, since he can become a user, that should be similar to Yaying, it must be recognized by this spiritual weapon. The spiritual tools of ghost cultivators need to constantly absorb some evil things. Now he suddenly took off the bunch of skulls from his body. The skull seemed to be alive, like a long snake, swimming around him. One end was caught in his hand, but he looked at Wu Yu with a sinister smile. Without saying anything, the spiritual weapon suddenly came towards Wu Yu. Wu Yu had already expected that he would take action, and now that the real owner appeared, he undoubtedly couldn't care about anyone else. Before the other party took action, Wu Yu collected the bones and Yanlong was able to collect them first, and then the clones also came near the main body. Nanshan Wanjiao was caught in the melee with them and couldn't get out for a while. When the opponent used the spiritual weapon to attack him, Wu Yu quickly surrounded himself and the sky-swallowing body with the somersault cloud, and quickly retreated. He had already been prepared, so this time it was relatively smooth and he escaped directly from the opponent. The attack range was far away, thinking that the opponent would chase after him, and he was already prepared for a chase. At least, he wanted to distract this person. After being lured away, Nanshan Wanjiao had no choice but to live or die here. What matters now is time. However, what Wu Yu didn't expect was that after he dodged, the other party's spiritual weapon made of human bones went directly towards Nanshan Wanjiao. At this time, Nanshan Wanjiao was fighting with the 7 people, and his eyes were red. Wang Qing was fighting, and he did not expect that such a strong man would suddenly target him. Therefore, the ghost array guest easily used such a spiritual Taoist weapon to entangle Nanshan Wanjiao. The skulls of those people suddenly had their eyes shining, and bursts of eerie black breath came out of their mouths, which rushed towards Nanshan Wanjiao's body, and then transformed into a huge skull, swallowing Nanshan Wanjiao inside, locking it tightly, and among the skulls, Nanshan Wanjiao screamed. It was obvious that the power of this weapon was very terrifying. He kept struggling, roaring, and destroying the spiritual weapon. For a while, the skull rumbled and shook, but it seemed to have no effect. Your pig was caught. Not long after Wu Yu escaped, Ming Long reminded him quickly. Wu Yu looked back again and saw that it was indeed the case. Hearing Nanshan Wanjiao in such pain, Wu Yu's heart was boiling with anger. He could only quickly returning to the ghost formation guest, he saw that the other party was only controlling Nanshan Wanjiao and did not want to kill him. At this time, he was also looking at him with a half smile, so he tried to calm himself down and asked the other party in a deep voice, "What do you want? What do you want? How can we be released?" He knew that it was impossible for this guy to release the other 7 together. Now he could only talk about the opportunity to release him and Nanshan Wanjiao, and this opportunity may not be available yet. The main thing is to let Nanshan watch the moon, because Wu Yu can leave at any time. The other party obviously saw this clearly, so he pretended to attack Wu Yu but was actually imprisoning Nanshan Wanjiao. The ghost array guest was not polite at all. While shaking the spiritual Taoist artifact in his hand, he said slowly, "I just saw you have a puppet. It was incredible. I have loved the array all my life. It is more important than my life. You give me that puppet and I'll let you 2 go." It turned out that he actually fell in love with the skeleton flame dragon. After all, he didn't know that Wu Yu and the 2 had immortal heritage. To him, the most conspicuous thing before was the skeletal flame dragon and the magic circle on its body. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 828. Chapter 821 The Dead Man. Wu Yu had previously used the skeleton flame dragon to help several other people. This guy was hiding in the dark and should have seen everything clearly. To be honest, the technology and Taoism involved in making a puppet of the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm are very valuable, far exceeding the help of a cultivator of the same strength. The ghost array guest wanted the skeleton flame dragon. For him, the important thing was not that the skeleton flame dragon could help him solve any opponent, but the puppet formation in the skeleton flame dragon. He wanted to master such a puppet formation, so he could create such a skeleton flame dragon legion as long as there were enough materials. The other party threatened Nanshan Wanjiao's life, and he knew that Wu Yu would definitely give in, no matter how important the skeleton flame dragon was to him. The skeleton flame dragon belongs to the floating life tower. It is only a part of the floating life tower. If it leaves the floating life tower and is taken away by others, it will soon lose its effectiveness. If he takes it away, it will be of no use. Wu Yu's mind was working quickly. However, if he told this fact to Guizhenk would definitely not believe it, and Wu Yu could not reveal the matter of the floating life tower. Looking at the upper spiritual device composed of the skull of Guizhenk, Nanshan Wanjiao was trapped in it now, and he still had the strength to struggle, but it sounded that his breath was getting weaker and weaker. Even if they have the inheritance of immortals, they may not be immortal. If this continues, he is still in danger. Is the time I gave you enough to think about it? Guizhenk stared at Wu Yu, and his voice was already a little impatient. Wu Yu went out halfway, and he should also know that Wu Yu had spread the news here. After saying that, his mana rolled towards the upper spiritual device. The magic array in the upper spiritual device was running faster, and more magic arrays were added to it, resulting in greater power. Obviously, the lethality brought to Nanshan Wanjiao would be greater. In the illusory black skull, Nanshan Wanjiao struggled more miserably. He did not give Wu Yu a chance to hesitate at all. Stop, I promise you. I can give you the puppet. Although the skeleton flame dragon is very important to Wu Yu, it is not as important as Nanshan Wanjiao. So when the other party pressed him, he did not hesitate at all. If it were not for Nanshan Wanjiao, he would have left here long ago. Very good. Guizhenk was very satisfied, so he slightly weakened the power of the upper spiritual weapon, but still entangled Nanshan Wanjiao and did not let him move. He looked at Wu Yu and said, "Since you promised, don't waste time on me, hurry up. I can give you the skeleton flame dragon, but you must let him go." "Don't worry, Guizhenk, keep my word. I only want this puppet, and I don't want to entangle with you here. Let's be quick." He was a little impatient. Wu Yushin gnashed his teeth, full of murderous intent towards this guy, but the reality was that Nanshan Wanjiao was controlled by the other party, and his strength was not as good as this old guy, so he could only summon the skeleton flame dragon from the floating life tower, and then rushed towards the ghost array guest. The skeleton flame dragon was still controlled by him at this time. In the blink of an eye, the skeleton flame dragon rushed in front of the ghost array guest. "Let him go," Wu Yu shouted. Seeing the skeleton flame dragon in front of him, the ghost array guest grinned. He stretched out his hand and shook the skull chain in his hand, and suddenly the skull bracelet extended from Nanshan Wanjiao's side again, entangled with the skeleton flame dragon, and the speed was very fast. However, Wu Yu did not see that he had any intention of letting Nanshan Wanjiao go. What he wanted was to control and imprison Nanshan Wanjiao and the skeleton flame dragon together with his upper spiritual instrument. Wu Yu did not expect that this guy was even more despicable than he imagined. He actually deceived himself and wanted to kill two birds with one stone, or in other words, he wanted more. Wu Yu certainly would not let him succeed. Now the skeleton flame dragon was still under the control of the floating life tower. He directly manipulated the floating life tower to swallow the skeleton flame dragon back. When the floating life tower received the order, the skeleton flame dragon instantly shrank, escaped the opponent's chain, and finally shrank in front of Wu Yu and hid in the floating life tower in his sleeve. This transaction failed because the other party broke the rules first, but Wu Yu did not let the other party's trick succeed. He still had a headache, because in this case, it was obviously more difficult to save Nanshan Wanjiao. The ghost array guest's actions made Wu Yu speechless, and he could not trust him at all. The skeleton flame dragon was taken back by Wu Yu, and the ghost array guest was furious. "You are the one who didn't keep your word, so you can't blame others. I used such a precious thing to exchange my friend's life with you, but you are greedy. Now, how can I trust you? Forget it, you are awesome. Give me the skeleton flame dragon, and I will definitely give it back to you." Guizhenk was angry, but he had to bow his head because he didn't get the skeleton flame dragon at this time. Obviously, his words were not believable at all. Wu Yu looked at him coldly and said, "You should tell me your real purpose. What else do you want besides the skeleton flame dragon?" If he just gave him the skeleton flame dragon, it would probably end the same way a few more times. He could see that the other party wanted to get more from him, and it was definitely not as simple as he said now. Let's be honest, in fact, delaying time at the beginning was beneficial to Wu Yu himself, but now Wu Yu didn't know how long Nanshan Wanjiao could last, so he had to make a quick decision. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Moreover, the fighting between the few people on the other side has reached a fever pitch. Without Wu Yu's stop, it can be said that some of them are already in danger. Basically, one foot has entered the gate of hell. Under the huge influence of the ghost array, they are not joking, but are in a real life and death struggle. But after Wu Yu said this, the ghost array guest smiled maliciously. "Since you are still a smart person, so simple, straightforward and direct, then I won't play around with you anymore. To be honest, compared to I value your life more than his life. This person should be a very good brother and friend of yours. It is very touching that you are willing to stay here for him. It is actually not difficult for him to get out alive. You just replace him, life for life. In other words, I am not interested in him, I only want everything about you." This is the real purpose of Ghost Array Guest. His ability to stop others through Wu Yu, the ability he showed in the melee, and his sober state in this magic circle deeply attracted the Ghost Array Guest. Moreover, the Ghost Array Guest apparently also used the method before seeing him. He got a Taoist weapon like Beiming Emperor K. Wu Yu was not surprised by his conditions. However, this is indeed a condition that is impossible to agree to. It is indeed unrealistic to exchange his own life for Nanshan Wanjiao's. The relationship between the two of them has not been good enough to exchange lives for lives. He has never been able to do it and watch Nanshan Wanjiao die. But for Wu Yu, if the other party is willing to let Nanshan Wanjiao go, he may not be able to kill him and get what he has. So in all of this, there is still the possibility of adventure and challenge. However, facing this kind of old guy who has practiced Taoism for more than 300 to 400 years, they have become accustomed to many methods. Wu Yu is afraid that he will guess all the thoughts in his heart first. "I know this matter is a difficult decision-making challenge for you. I can give you time to think about it," the Ghost Array Guest said with a smile. At this moment, he seemed not to be worried about the passage of time at all. "I still want to delay as much as possible, just in time to take advantage of the relatively simple request made by the other party. If rescuers arrive, everything will be solved," Wu Yu thought to himself. If the other party made such a request, it should give Wu Yu some delay. However, just when Wu Yu was thinking about what to do, something unexpected happened. This accident came from the melee between the 7 men. After a fierce fight, one of the men was first seriously injured during the siege, and then directly beheaded on the spot. His soul was scattered, and he died directly. His body fell into a deep valley in the forest below, and fell into a pool of cold water. Someone actually died. When the rescuers from the Yanhuang tribe arrive, they will probably be even more angry. After all, death is no small matter now, and the person who died in battle is also the future pillar of the Yanhuang Ancient Kingdom and the son of a big shot in the Yanhuang Ancient Kingdom. After someone died in the battle, the other 6 did not react at all and were still arguing. Then they continued to fight and fell into a melee. Sometimes one person might face attacks from several other people. In fact, despite the fact that the 3 women are slightly weaker, the remaining 3 men have no intention of doing anything to them in their deepest hearts. Secretly, they still hate other men more, so they are fighting, cursing, and using the same method. They are the Lord. This is also the reason why the first person to die in battle was a man. Someone died in battle, leaving corpses behind. When Wu Yu saw the corpse falling, there was a trace of desire in his eyes, which came from the body of the sky swallower. After a person dies, the body will only decay, all the energy of the Zi mansion will dissipate from heaven and earth, and the soul will have long since disappeared. If he stays here, he will refine this ghost array guest into a corpse and won't be reincarnated. It's better to help me take a step further. After acquiring the body of the heaven-swallowing demon, Wu Yu has been thinking about a question, that is, how will he differ from the heaven-swallowing demon ancestor? This is indeed a rather difficult question to understand. It devours demons, and it devours the ghost flame tribe, so why can't it devour ascetics who it doesn't like? Moreover, this ascetic did not die because of himself. His corpse will also decay and disappear into heaven and earth. Something happened today, a chapter. Total Ode 2. More updates tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 829. Maybe Wu Yu himself didn't know that his thinking would undergo some changes since he had the body to swallow the sky. His way is also changing. This cannot be said to be a bad change. After all, he still has his own persistence. It can only be said that he made certain corrections for the two bodies to improve the status of his sky-swallowing body and truly become his body part. The primary and secondary relationship with the ontology is very, very weak. Even if the main body is killed in the future, Wu Yu can rely on the body of swallowing the sky to survive in this world of Yanfu as a complete self. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Now is a special situation. The rescuer has still not arrived. Nanshan Wanjiao is in danger, and the remaining 6 people are also wandering between life and death. Wu Yu is not a stubborn person. There are many ways in this world, and no one can explain them clearly. Which path is truly correct to take? When he had the body of swallowing the sky, he recognized his swallowing ability and firmly believed that there must be a difference between himself and the ancestor of the sky-devouring demon. Therefore, Wu Yu has made a decision. When his opponent gave him time to think about it and asked him to exchange lives with Nanshan Wanjiao, the sky-swallowing body on his body secretly left his side in the form of a mist and fell into the forest below. Maybe the other party saw it at this time, but it doesn't matter. Most of his attention was still on Wu Yu's body. From the swallowing of the sky-swallowing body, he realized that it had the ability to devour, and it could also. It is difficult to become stronger through devouring, because now, the ghost array guest does not know the strength of Wu Yu's sky-devouring body. Invisibly, the sky-swallowing body has quietly approached. The flesh and blood bodies of the monks who were killed by their own people are placed in front of the sky-swallowing body like exquisite food. It's almost time, how are you thinking? Ghost array guest tilted his head and looked at Wu Yu with a smile. At the moment when he was speaking, there was another change on the battlefield of the 6 people. Another man was surrounded by several other people in the fierce battle and lost his life immediately. At this time, the rescuer still had not arrived. Wu Yu vaguely realized that there might be a problem. It had been a long time since he sent the communication talisman. Logically speaking, even if there was only the Yanhuang fire talisman, those rescuers should have appeared. Even if they can't crack the formation, at least they should come in. The second dead person appeared, but the ghost warrior remained calm and looked at Wu Yu with a smile. At this time, he seemed to know what Wu Yu was thinking and said, "Don't be stupid, I know what you are waiting for. You have gone out before and got 2 kinds of talismans, but you don't know that outside of this magic circle, there is a larger area that I can control with the forbidden talisman array, so your talismans are basically useless. If you send it out, no one will come to rescue you. With this kind of magic circle, I have killed many of your people over the years. Unfortunately, you may not know that it was me, haha." After the other party finished speaking, he laughed loudly and wildly. He didn't say it before, probably because he was worried that Wu Yu would run out again and go further to release the Yanhuang Fire Talisman, the Communication Talisman, etc. Now, he controls Nanshan Wanjiao's life. So he is not afraid to speak out, which can also disappoint Wu Yu and make a decision. In fact, this was also the reason why he took his time. The only ones who are still able to think now are Wu Yu himself, and the remaining 5 people are also beating crazy. It seems that they will lose their lives one by one soon. Wu Yu really didn't expect that the other party would arrange such a formation in addition to the magic circle. The other party's attainments in the magic circle were indeed at their peak. This brought an even bigger problem to Wu Yu. Devouring the flesh and blood of those cultivators has become Wu Yu's last resort. In addition, without the rescuer, this matter will obviously not turn around. If you want to rescue Nanshan Wanjiao, you must rely on Wu Yu himself. So at this point, he didn't have any chance to hesitate. Of course, his thoughts were clear and straight, and he didn't need to have the slightest psychological burden on this matter. On the other hand, the ghost array guest was now giving Wu Yu psychological pressure. One last question for you, have you considered it? If you are willing to let me use this spiritual weapon to imprison you, I can send this guy out in an instant and let him escape. The ghost swordsman is still following the temptation. However, he has a history of not abiding by the agreement. Even so, even if he exchanged his life for his life, Wu Yu could not believe that he would let Nanshan Wanjiao go. Maybe this person's ultimate goal was to make him and Nanshan Wanjiao too. He has done it all, and the remaining ones will definitely be killed by him. Wu Yu himself knew that exchanging lives for lives was simply impossible. What he didn't expect was that in this short period of time, the people of the Lei Yan Legion, probably because of the killing some time ago, almost all of them had been seriously injured. By this time, they were already red-eyed and fell into a white-hot battle stage. At this time, everyone has become the enemy of life and death for others. The magic circle of the ghost array guest shows a terrible power at this time, that is, the riot in their hearts, but the battle is little by little. Excited, until now, it has continued to the moment of the final explosion. For a time, regardless of men and women, they died in battle one after another. The corpses fell one by one, and the blood filled the sky. It also directly dyed the cold pool underneath red, and finally the remaining a woman was also in a half-dead state, lingering for breath, but she still didn't stop. When she saw that there were no enemies in her field of vision, she immediately focused on Ghost Array Guest and Wu Yu. Now her body was covered with blood and her eyes were red. With a scream, he held his Taoist weapon and charged towards the Ghost Array Guest. The Ghost Array Guest smiled arrogantly, stretched out his hand and pulled out a short knife, which instantly passed through the woman's eyebrows and ended her life. So far, all 7 members of the Lei Yan Legion have died in battle under the stimulation of this magic circle. If Nanshan Wanjiao had not been controlled by the opponent early, he would probably have died at this time. The status of these people is not low. Each of them probably has a certain status, and has parents who are very powerful. The most basic estimate is that they are also the masters of the house. They all died here at this time, and it will definitely be the same if word spreads. A big event. 7 people have a lot of treasures on them. Does your clone want to get the treasures on them? Could it be that you don't want to save your friend and want to escape alone with the treasures? The Ghost Array Guest looked at him sinisterly. The main function of his current magic circle is to build a world that can inspire rage and madness, but it is not a world under his control, so he does not know what is happening in the cold pool below. In that place, the body that swallows the sky is growing. Although the Ghost Array Guest is not in a hurry, in order to avoid long nights and dreams, it would be better for him to deal with Wu Yu as soon as possible. So at this time, after seeing those 7 people from the Lei Yan Legion dying one after another, he focused all his attention on Wu Yu. What Wu Yu didn't know was that in order for the ghost array guests to ensure that these 7 people continued to fall into a state of chaos, they still needed to continue to provide Zifu Yuan Li to extend the array. This would actually consume a lot of money. Now, to deal with those rabble, in his opinion, he can concentrate on dealing with Wu Yu. I give you 10 breaths of time to think about it, and if there is still no result, then don't blame me for letting this monster follow in the footsteps of the other 7 people. I really don't want to kill him that much, so don't hesitate. Force me to do something. He was giving an ultimatum. After he finished speaking, he started counting from 10, and each time he breathed, he decreased 1 number. In this way, counting to 1 didn't actually take much time. 10. 9. By this point, it was simply thrilling. Wu Yu's body did not move. He just frowned and looked at the other party. And under the cold pool, the black mist kept sweeping across, drawing the flesh and blood bodies of the Lei Yan Legion into its devouring range. The sky-swallowing body continued to grow, constantly challenging its own. At the limit, there is a big difference between these 7 cultivators and the demons Wu Yu swallowed before, because their Zifu Yuan power is scorching and decent. In the past, his sky-swallowing body was grown in the Beiming Empire. Therefore, it is more yin and cold, and after having these 7 cultivators, it develops in the direction of balance, the reconciliation of yin and yang. In short, the diet is more balanced. The effect after equilibrium is quite large. When the opponent is counting from 10 to 1, the sky-swallowing body quickly swallows, transforms, and integrates, and continues to grow. This does not take much time, it may just happen in the blink of an eye. If the power on his body is compared with the Yuanshen realm, it should have just surpassed the 9th level of the Yuanshen realm, and barely reached the 10th level of the Yuanshen realm, which is slightly higher than his original Yuanshen. When Wu Yu's body, the Yuanshen, was just equivalent to the 8th level of the Yuanshen realm, the sky-swallowing body once sprinted to the 10th level, which was higher than the current level, so if it is only a little higher now, although it is not suitable, Wu Yu can still control it. With the addition of Dao tools like Beiming Dike, his sky-swallowing body can be said to be more powerful than ever before. He is now Wu Yu's only weapon that can fight against this ghost warrior. 3 updates today. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 830. 3. In the blink of an eye, the ghost array guest had already counted to 3, and there were still 3 breaths left. He was very kind to Wu Yu, because he deliberately counted slowly. 2. By this time, he had already raised his voice, and his eyes were as cold as the light of a sword, staring at Wu Yu. Huge pressure acted on Wu Yu's body, and at this time, he recirculated the Zifu Yuan power on the spiritual Taoist artifact in his hand. The name of this spiritual weapon is called Ancient Soul Dream Lock. It can make your friend die in a nightmare. Even if he dies, the nightmare will be left to him forever, even if he can be reincarnated in the future. I can't even get rid of the nightmare. Would you say this kind of punishment is scary? He didn't say the last one, but shook the ancient soul dream lock and looked at Wu Yu with a sinister smile. At any time, he might take action. Okay, I promise you. Just when the other party was about to take action, Wu Yu interrupted him with one sentence, causing a smile to appear on the ghost array guest's face immediately. Very good. I'm very satisfied that you can still trust me. Then this time, just pay the money and deliver the goods. The moment I control you, I will let him go. Nanshan Wanjiao was his bargaining chip. In this case, he was also worried that Wu Yu would leave at any time. I have always done things upright. Since I promised you, I will not play tricks or be greedy. On the other hand, if you still go back on your word this time, even if I have the slightest chance of escape, I will never trust you again. Wu, as you spoke, he approached his opponent. At this time, his opponent had stopped tossing Nanshan Wanjiao. He nodded with a smile on his face and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely not let you down this time." Perhaps the most tense moment has arrived. Nanshan Wanjiao seemed to be able to hear what was said outside. He might have woken up a little. At this time, he was struggling in the skull chain ancient soul dream lock and making a banging sound. As for what he was shouting, Ghost Array certainly didn't want Wu Yu to know. "Hold your breath." In the blink of an eye, Wu Yu stood in front of the ghost guest, waiting for him to use the ancient soul dream lock to control him. It's admirable to be able to dedicate one's life to a brother. If it were me, that would be far beyond my ability. I will give you a decent death at this point, ghost formation. The guest put away the smile on his face and became serious. Then without saying a word, he controlled the ancient soul dream lock. His ancient soul dream lock extended a length towards Wu Yu. Then you can see that when one section of the Guhanman chain approached Wu Yu, the section that trapped Nanshan Wanjiao gradually relaxed. This was also an explanation of the other party's sincerity. At this moment, every breath and every moment was very tense, and Wu Yu's heart was like a turbulent sea. There were few times in his life when he was as desperate as he was today. At this time, nothing could go wrong. Call. For Wu Yu, he felt that time seemed to be very slow at this time, and he felt like he was in the floating life tower. It was just because his concentration had been concentrated to the extreme, and all his attention was slowly moving towards it. The ancient soul dream lock that he approached was also on Nanshan Wanjiao, who was gradually loosened in the ancient soul dream lock. In order to worry about Wu Yu's escape, the ghost array guests seemed to have done a very appropriate job, tying Wu Yu while releasing him. Looking at the moon from Nanshan. When he controls Wu Yu, he will also personally send Nanshan Wanjiao out of the magic circle. Otherwise, Wu Yu may directly escape from the magic circle before taking control. Release and control should occur at the same moment. Now, very close to this moment, Wu Yu could see that Nanshan Wanjiao had already struggled out, and the soul dream cord was gradually unable to control him, and he was about to rush out from it. He was not seriously injured now, so Wu Yu was relieved. However, Wu Yu should feel sorry for what he did, so at this time, he was very desperate and still struggling. Before this, his relationship with Wu Yu was relatively dull. Now, this was the first fierce conflict in his life. At this critical moment, the moment that is about to come, both Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao may have held their breath. The ancient soul Mensuo had already turned around Wu Yu's body several times. The moment it tightened, Wu Yu was under control, and it would be difficult for him to even turn somersaults. Nanshan Wanjiao already has the greatest freedom, and he is basically about to crawl out of there. His voice can be vaguely heard in the language. He is very angry, and the anger is directed at the ghost array guest. "No," Nanshan Wanjiao's roaring voice came from inside. A shock. At this moment, ghost array guest's eyes changed. He was ready to shrink the ancient soul dream lock. He only had a moment before he could succeed. Of course, at this time, he wanted to send Nanshan Wanjiao away. At the foot of Nanshan Wanjiao, there seemed to be a gap in the magic circle, and there was hot magma underneath. At this time, all the attention of Ghost Array Guest was of course on Nanshan Wanjiao and Wu Yu. For him, this was also a struggle. The most important thing was that he had to catch Wu Yu, who was like a loach to him. Because whether Nanshan Wanjiao can be released, he probably depends on his luck. Now Nanshan Wanjiao is also injured. As long as he catches Wu Yu, he actually doesn't think Nanshan Wanjiao can escape from his grasp. From the beginning, he controlled Nanshan Wanjiao to win the battle. He carefully observed Wu Yu's expressions and movements, which was the key to his victory. Now he was afraid that Wu Yu would just run away without caring about Nanshan Wanjiao's life or death. At this moment, when he was about to tighten the ancient soul dream rope, something else happened, and it was in a place he didn't pay much attention to. A ball of black mist gradually rose to a position not far behind him. Before that moment, the black mist transformed into Wu Yu with bloodshot eyes and white hair, and then took out beaming Emperor K from his samurai bag. All this happened silently, and because all the attention of the ghost array guest was on Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao, he almost forgot about Wu Yu's clone. The appearance of his heaven-devouring body was very, very hidden, and even Nanshan Wanjiao didn't know it. Heavenly K Dark Soul Saint Emperor Sword. The heaven-devouring body, if it doesn't attack, it's fine, but once it attacks, it's an extinction-like attack. He attacked quietly and violently, leaving the ghost array guest little time to react. Now the body of the Heaven Devourer has reached a very high level, and its combat power has exceeded its history. It is even more powerful than when it was in the Sea of Ghosts, especially the power of the magic array that controls the Northern Dark Emperor, which almost exceeds the realm of the Yuan Shen. That sword, the Heavenly Palace, and the Holy Emperor appeared one after another, and finally condensed into a sword energy, which instantly burst out quickly, fiercely, and accurately, and the target was not the ghost array guest itself, but the arm of the ghost array guest connected to the ancient soul dream lock. The body of the Heaven Devourer has been dormant for such a long time, and Wu Yu's body has done so many performances for this moment. The Battle of Immortals is also very thrilling. Now the Heavenly Palace Dark Soul Holy Emperor sword whistled away and instantly hit the ghost array guest. The ghost array guest did not expect such a change at all. For a moment, he was horrified and could not react at all. In this process, the only thing he could do was to protect himself. This was a subconscious reaction. Of course, his ability to protect himself was also very strong. At this time, he should have taken out another kind of upper spiritual weapon, as if a picture was directly blocking his eyes. The Tiank Nether Soul Saint Emperor sword directly hit the side edge of this picture, and the powerful force directly broke the ghost array guest and the ancient soul dream lock. Most of the power of the Tiank Nether Soul Saint Emperor sword was still killed on this magic circle. Suddenly, the whole world was shaking, and the foundation of the magic circle was also shaken by this cold sword. When the sword energy was inserted into the ground, it can be seen that the ground of the entire endless world was instantly frozen into a black glacier, spreading from the center of the sword energy, and completely freezing the opponent's magic circle into an ice and snow world. This is not the key. The key is that Wu Yu succeeded. After losing the control of the ghost array guest, the ancient soul dream lock also lost its effectiveness for a while, and Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao escaped from it at the same time. Somersault Cloud, Wu Yu saw Nanshan Wanjiao, whose face and eyes were a little red. At this time, Nanshan Wanjiao was very embarrassed and his eyes were very heavy. Wu Yu knew that he had just suffered a serious impact. He directly used the somersault cloud to wrap the other party, and the two of them fled directly. Originally, he wanted to take Nanshan Wanjiao out of the magic circle. After all, there was an exit below, and there was magma below. However, after being avoided by the body of the swallowing sky with sword energy, the ghost formation guest reacted very quickly and immediately closed the exit first. Wu Yu had to change direction and take Nanshan Wanjiao to quickly escape from the area controlled by the ghost formation guest. As long as he had the somersault cloud, even if they were in the opponent's magic circle, the ghost formation guest might not be able to catch them, and at this time Wu Yu also had the body of the swallowing sky that could barely fight against the ghost formation guest. Now as long as Nanshan Wanjiao returned to Wu Yu's side, Wu Yu basically didn't have to worry about his life or death, and he could also entangle with the ghost formation guest. For Wu Yu, he had succeeded. Now it was the ghost array guest who was furious, especially after he saw that his magic array world had directly turned into a black glacier world. "You kid, you succeeded in angering me. You refused to accept the toast, but you actually accepted the penalty drink. In this case, none of you can leave here today." The ghost array guest looked at Wu Yu's heaven-devouring body, and then at Wu Yu and Nanshan Wanjiao, who were surrounded by the somersault cloud, gnashing his teeth and speaking with murderous intent. He had used the method of regret to deal with Wu Yu before, but he didn't expect that this time, he would be tricked by Wu Yu.